message to all members. Just like that, there was a month off. We're back. There's only you're cut from a different cloth if you're showing up for basically a live podcast in July, beginning of July, when school is oh so far away. Feeling for some of us that some of y'all just got done like a week and a half ago anyway. Shout out to Alexia, my co-host on Rules to Engagement. Yeah, the light in the back wants us to know that's there. It is just, or there's a Demogorgon. I'm not sure what's going on.
I think we got a new blinky light feature.
Yeah, maybe. You know, we're like, someone needs a seizure out there. Let's try and help them out with it. Anyway, y'all, I am always grateful for the month off of this because we try and typically take a month off from everything, but this month we didn't. We still put out YouTube content, but it always feels good to kind of come back to every time. And man, there's so much stuff going on. It is like, for those of y'all, let me just say this too on the front end, for everyone that has gone over to the Rules to Engagement show, that episode 3 is exploding so much more than anything else we've done. Like, I mean, we only had 3 episodes, but like the first one did well. The second one was, didn't do as well as the first one. The third one is popping off. The dog's having a fit outside of this door.
Should I let him in?
Just let him in. He's getting older. Clara told me yesterday our dog's 10. She's like, he's basically 70. I said, don't say that. That's my man. Are you going to go lay under my desk? Okay. So it is going so well. And I am so glad because both of our guests, first of all, the whole show I loved, but both of our guests, Omar, if y'all haven't seen it yet, Principal Omar is been on the Ellen show multiple times. Oprah Winfrey came to his school and like gave him like $500,000 for something. And he knows her. Then Dennis McKeezy knows everybody else. He's down with everybody. And those guys do such good work that even if you just pop into the episode and scrub it and just watch one of those interviews, it's so good. I
know. CJ keeps telling me I'm a bad wife because I haven't watched.
I didn't say you're a bad wife. I keep saying, hopefully you'll be there. I was jokingly say like each time it hits a new 10,000 mark, I'm like, hey, maybe you'll be in the first 60,000 people, which is what the Lincoln Financial Field fits 64,000 people. We've had a Lincoln Financial Field worth of viewers before my wife watched it. Yeah. But
I was at a baby shower. My sister had a baby shower.
And I understand. I mean, we live in the
education world. We talk education. We eat, live, and breathe and sleep and all of it.
Yeah.
That to go back and watch it on my own, I'm kind of like, I have a guilty pleasure when I wash dishes. I love to watch some sort of TV show that I put my ear. It's like a treat for having to do the dishes. I do a lot of dishes.
It's pretty trashy, your show you're watching right now.
I am. I'm watching. What am I watching?
Animal Kingdom.
It is really actually.
And not don't get it twisted, folks. It's not like a documentary.
Don't watch it if you don't like feel good stuff.
Well, if you like feel good stuff. If you do like feel good stuff, yeah. I said in the newsletter this week, it's Stick is my show
what you do like
right now. So look, gang, down to answer any question that you have. I don't want to sit here and just because we can have a whole show of us just talking about stuff.
We could.
But thank you for everyone that is here. I think all the OGs that come back every single time, you know who you are. And first OG is Ruth Akers. What's going on?
Hitting up with a question. All right,
Ruth's question was in here 30 minutes before the show.
She's asking, I'm returning to middle school this fall. I want to do most of my lessons plans this summer. I have 16 days to get it done. Can you give me a checklist of things to do? don't have room access yet?
Um,
I'm going to remind you that I think the tip that you should give Ruth is the reverse engineering the calendar. I always think that that's a really good one. If I was a teacher, like that's something that I would do, and then fill out how to plan from there.
I think that's one. So that's I learned from my friend, famed author now, Randy Rebuy.
Yes.
He just won some other award for something, but he used to drive me to school. Randy taught me one time. It is, Ruth, if you did our lesson planning workshop, this is how I lay it out in there too. But basically what I do is I create a spreadsheet. I populate it with dates, and then I want to do, I figure out how, I'm sorry if everyone can hear my dog eating this bone, but like that's the life we live. That's the studio we're in. It's, I figure out how many weeks I want this to take, right? So typically a unit for me, I try not to go more than 5 weeks. And then there's a week there's that 6th week that's like kind of catching up. Maybe that's testing that week or something like that, like a final on whatever we're learning. But I try not to go more than 5 weeks because I find that things get dull. I know teachers, I've had teachers tell me that they take like a half a year to read a book. Bro, it's not that deep. Like that's too long. And I don't know how you make anything that interesting for that much time. So what I would do is if I have a 5-week teaching period plus a 6th week of testing, I'm going to then reverse engineer that. So I start with, as an English teacher, how many pages would I need to read per day to do 5 weeks? I then plug in how many vocab words would I need to do over 5 weeks? Like if I divide that up to go heavy, deep, and real on vocab, what core concepts? So if I'm looking at whether it's my curriculum or I'm looking at standards, what am I looking at on there? Like how many of those would I need to hit a week to hit my target? So that's what I'm doing. And then you might find that 5 weeks isn't enough and you have to do 6. Maybe you have to do 7 or you have to do 8. But it's like, if I just divide everything up mathematically, how can I start filling out that spreadsheet? What the spreadsheet also allows me to do is plug in, is there a day where I know we have a class trip? I know that there's a speaker. I know that we have a day off. I know that there's a 3-day or 4-day weekend. I start plugging those things in too, so that I'm not surprised by them, that all the school dates are in there. You should already have, unless you have a really behind school like mine in Philly. I feel like we had some questionable leadership those a few years in Philly where like we didn't get that school calendar until like after the school year started. So if you have a school calendar, start plugging in those dates, plugging in what you want to learn, and getting a sense. The next thing I would do, and look, this isn't just because I just did a brand deal with them, but Khan Academy has a new-ish. So it used to cost money. Now it's completely free. They're backed by Google now. So they have this free platform called Conmigo. I call it Conmigo all the time. Conmigo, which is KHANMIGO. It's awesome. Because what it is it's like AI. Some folks, I think, get tripped up with using things like ChatGPT and Claude and a couple of other platforms. What this does is it'll have a lesson planning generator where it gives you prompts to plug things in. And one of the best comments I got yesterday was someone that actually said, I don't think I'm going to use this because I'm a new teacher and I need to figure out how to do this myself. What it does is it will give you a jumping off point. So Ruth, I would plug some stuff in there, see the jumping off point, because then it's like I use AI constantly. I mean, I use it tons and tons of times during the day, but for me, it's a thought companion. It's someone to have the conversation with, to think about things maybe that you wouldn't think about. So I think those two things in tandem, rough draft your unit, and then start running lesson plans through Conmigo and see what that comes up with. I think that's really going to put you in a place of of clarity. And once you have a little bit of clarity around the space, then you're going to be able to start running and gunning and really putting things together.
She also said that she's teaching health sciences. It's a totally new thing, and she needs to prep kids for high school nursing program.
So that even more so, because it's new and you don't have anything that you're pulling from, like no past experience, no one's giving you some curriculum on that. That's where I would especially use like another platform, because it's giving you, right? So like, I think of it like this, Ruth. When I'm going to teach, if a teacher taught The Great Gatsby last year and I'm taking over their class, I would look at their lesson plans. I'm not going to run the play unless they were an amazing teacher and they did things just like me. But I will look at it and go, okay, how long, what did your tests look like? What did your quizzes look like? What did your lesson plans look like? How much were you reading? Were the kids reading on their own? Were they reading in class? I'm looking at that stuff, but it's a jumping off point for me and not something that I'm just going to like go and do because that's what it says to do. So that's how I would especially start looking at platforms like Conmigo to help me jump off like that.
Oh, John Lopez said it sounds like if Conmigo in Spanish is with me.
Yes. Anderson Cooper. So if y'all want to see like another video besides mine, Anderson Cooper did a whole spotlight on it that we watched that was fascinating. It was really, really well done.
Where did we watch that on?
And he's a fellow Q-tip. You know what I mean?
Oh, did you just call yourself a Q-tip?
Silver Fox. Yeah.
You went all the way as far to say Q-tip.
Q-tip. That's a term. I don't know if it's a commonly used phrase.
No, I don't think it is.
But we were down the shore one time on 4th of July, and I had this who's now passed, a brother-in-law, who's hilarious, cousin-in-law, I guess, Jason, and he said something about all the Q-tips on the beach, and I was
sea of Q-tips.
He's like, so what? Dry and sarcastic. I like literally started. I was like, "What are you talking about? Like something wash up on shore?" And he's like, "No, man, old people." And I just thought that was the funniest thing I ever heard in my life.
When you think of like grandmas, a lot of times they have like more bushy kind of hair, kind of like the top of a Q-tip.
But it was all whiteheads out there. It was hilarious. Q-tips.
I wouldn't call you a Q-tip. You're getting there though. Your salt and pepper like Silver Fox is definitely turning.
Let's move on to the next question.
More white.
Let's get it.
Okay, Jessica is up next, asking best tips for engaging disengaged students. I teach middle school art, so when kids are off task, things can quickly get chaotic.
I think especially for art, Jessica, it's going to be building, one, it's relationships always, right? When a kid knows that you care, they care what you know. And it's easier to get kids back on task when they know, because it's not just knowing you, but it's knowing that them getting to know you, they understand that you are actually there because you care, because you actually find value in this. I think the other thing is there, and a lot of, I don't know if this is your experience, but a lot of art teachers that I've worked with, I've probably mentored more art teachers than any other core group.
We get a lot of art teachers.
A lot of art teachers.
Which is funny.
And my experience in working with a lot of art teachers has been that they get kids put in their class. It's an elective that no one elected, right? This word elective is so mystical. It used to mean that like you picked a class and then you got put in there and then you had to learn it. Now it's like they call it electives, but they just push kids into your class that have no interest in art. So I think it's the relational piece. It's then trying to figure out, how can I explain to kids why this matters and make it matter for them? So once I know what you care about, once I know who you are, what world you're coming from, what matters to you, how do I make what we're learning in art do that? Because I would argue that art is wildly important, that school is so homogenized. Art is the creativity piece, and we live in a creator's economy right now. We don't live in like you go to school, you go to college, you get the job, you work it for 40 years. You have to be a creative on some level. So how are you honing those creative skills? Even though, one of the things I love to talk to my kids about is my son last year took art for the first time in a long time because he was homeschooled. And sometimes they would do projects that he was like, I just don't care about this project. Like this isn't what I like doing. I said, that's exactly when you have to dig in the most, because it's stretching you. And it's the days at the gym that I know I have to give it my all that I hate leg day. It's my least favorite day of the week at the gym.
And we got to go do it today.
We do have to. Thanks for reminding me.
I know. Right after this.
It was your fault. Anyway, it is it's trying to help them see, why does this matter? So it's not just about shading. It's not just about, making things out of clay. It's not just about, different kinds of lines and mediums and all that stuff. Like, I understand that you would rather just draw. I understand you'd rather paint than do pastels. Why does this matter? How can I connect this to what your world is? That's the move there all the time.
I didn't listen to the whole thing because I read comments and things, but
I love,
stop it, take you too. I love when our daughter, who loves art, would come home from school, or she brought home a project. She goes, oh, I really love doing this. This is something I saw on TikTok that I've wanted to do. So she follows a lot of art TikTok channels. And it was very cool to see that the art teacher, who doesn't look like she's hanging out on TikTok too much, would find these trends on social media and she would bring them into the classroom. That was her bridge. Yeah. And I thought that was really great. And I could see that lit my kid up. Cause she was like,
who else was doing that? Why am I blanking on her name? Who's my mentee? Art teacher, Catholic school. Elizabeth Kloss.
All right. You don't have to say her whole name.
Oh, well, sometimes she's in here. She did a whole
well, kids came in, didn't they say, and they
wanted to make Coraline dolls. So she was like, yes. So she started formulating a lot of things that they were doing in class based off TikTok trends. And it's
good success, right? When you're trying to meet the kids where they are, where is their world? It's on TikTok, right? Or social media. So if you're not following art trends online, which there's probably a good chance that you are, I think that's a really great avenue to marry those. And then you can even show the TikToks in class, and that's going to win you some cred.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a great move. I saw that work in my own kid. But
yeah.
Even the stuff I remember during the art show, they had an end of year art show, which was amazing. But a lot of the stuff that they did was outside of our daughter's typical medium. Our daughter loves to work with cardboard, and she's really great at creating these amazing things. But a lot of the other things, she walked around the show and was like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like this that I did. I don't like that. And I'm like, but I thought they were really good still, even though they weren't her best at what I've seen her create. I'm like, they're really good because they stretched you to try new things, like you said.
And I thought they were all, I'm also her dad, and I love her.
Biggest fans, but
but those creations they made out of the
now that's
egg
her
crate,
but that's her medium, right?
That's
that
true,
was,
I guess.
She loves cardboard, and they did these cool 3D things out of egg cartons, and hers was stellar, but that's her medium. Yes. I loved even her less stellar pieces because it stretched her.
Yes.
Oops. Okay. Catherine it's not quite a question, but you could probably speak to it. She's
What's
saying,
up?
I'm teaching new classes this year, 12th grade English. We're reading texts I've never taught before, and I'm nervous. I'm teaching texts like Beowulf and Canterbury Tales. So what do you do if you're teaching texts that you've never read before? Maybe you can speak to that.
I think so Canterbury Tales, I scoff at immediately, but I think because no one ever made it relatable to me. So how am I looking at those? I think Beowulf's a little bit easier. It's a bit more action. It's a lot action packed. And it's the hero's journey, right? So I think a couple of things that I ask myself, I'm having a little bit of brain vomit here, but one is asking myself, what if this was easy? So what do I want the students to walk away with? Don't make it a million things. Make it some things. There's always more you can teach within the text, within the context of the text. But what are the few things I'd rather go deep on than try and teach 100 things and just it looks complex? kids are going to forget that. So go simple and deep over wide and complex. Then ask yourself, what if this was easy? So how could I make this, like, that doesn't mean dumb it down, but it just means I think teachers often make things overly complex for no reason, or it's just so that they can flex and it's not about the students, it's about them. That's one as well. And then it's finding reference points, just like to the last question, right? You can see the theme here. What are the connection points for students? So in Canterbury Tales, like, can I take Canterbury Tales and from what I remember, right? I haven't read it since college. It's all these different stories. Kind of makes me think of The Breakfast Club, right? Like, or how can I connect this to my students' world? What's your story? What would you talk about? What if it was you and your 4 friends? I'm looking for those connection points, because the problem that I think folks often make when teaching, especially a lot of older literature, and I mean, look, old to our kids could be freaking 10 years ago, but if you're teaching Shakespeare, if you're teaching I'm just really thinking of like anything that's older, like even if it's The Great Gatsby or if it's Of Mice and Men or something like that, it's not taking the time to connect what students are doing now to what happened back then, right? So Romeo and Juliet could just be a love story that happened 500 years ago, but because I don't dress like that and talk like that, like that's outside of my realm, and it's not. And this is a really great place to use AI, right? It's like, so whether on Conmigo has a relevance thing, like you can go on there and there's a prompt that like you can find things that are relevant, but you can do this on any AI, right? You can, chat's really my jam outside of Conmigo, but like, because I don't like Google's AI. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But asking like, hey, how do I connect Beowulf or Canterbury Tales to popular trends in pop culture in 2025, and just see what it comes up with. Now that's going to make you do a little bit of digging. You're going to have to go search on YouTube or TikTok and like look up some of these trends, some of these concepts, some of these ideas. And there's a lot of teachers that aren't willing to do that. And I'm going to tell you why you should do it. Because if you're asking students to, hey, come over here to my land of Canterbury Tales, you have to be willing to go to where your kids are and show that you can make the connect, like how are you building the bridge that's attractive to your world, instead of just asking them to like come over. I think it's helping to build the bridge that is going to entice kids. That's how I would do it.
Yeah. Not everybody likes ChatGPT because it's not like laid out. You have to like know how to ask that question, right? That you even like put out. Like that's why I'm not very good with ChatGPT. It's like, and that's, you are constantly teaching and telling me how to do something when I'm getting a little bit better. But what I like about Conmigo is that you could just ask that question. Like it's kind of already there.
It's powered by ChatGPT, but it makes it user friendly.
Yeah, well, they wrap it specifically for teachers and what they need. And that's why I like that product. That's why I think it's so beneficial for teachers who kind of are afraid of AI and don't really know how to use, like ChatGPT seems a little scary. If I think until you really get used to it and learn it, Conmigo is a little bit Conmigo. We're the worst.
No, we're really doing a great job here.
We're good brand representatives. I think that's what makes them so wonderful. It's that it's specifically made for educators and it's easy to use.
You know what else is specifically made for educators?
What?
Our new resource that we put out, the Classroom Management Blueprint. It is, so we made it a resource. My most popular video, besides the one where I made a video one time where I made a concrete pot. That video kills on YouTube, I'll tell you. But it is, but that was before we started doing YouTube. I just did it as a test. My most popular video of all time is my classroom management video that I made for YouTube. I made a resource around that video, but it goes so much deeper where I give you like the scripts of things I talk about. I give you all the resources that I mentioned. So there's nothing that I just say that I don't give you in it. Can you throw that in the chat? All right. So it's in the chat. I'll put it, it's linked. It will be linked in the description. It's already linked in the description below. So if you're watching this later, you'll be able to find it. But it is a resource that I've been asked for years to create that I made. It's priced it's like $24.99 or something like that. It's priced for teachers. And then you can find it also on our Shopify store at shopteacherclassoff.com, along with a whole bunch of other stuff. So my plan is to make more resources like that this summer. They are very time consuming to create, but we're going to try and bust a bunch out before the beginning of the school year, because going back into the classroom this year, I mean, I feel like we're going to be at the school a bunch this week.
I think we're going to live at the school this week.
Yeah.
I think you'll see a lot of
got to start painting.
Glimpse of those. Yeah. Okay. How do you say this name?
Chesney. Yeah.
Okay. Chesney. Never mind. I'll tell you later.
Are you having an ADD moment?
I am.
Welcome to my world.
He's saying, new teacher here. I'm going to teach 9th to 12th grade history or history at a tiny school. The retiring teacher handed me all the lesson plans with the assignments, PowerPoints, tests, and everything in between. So this isn't a specific question, but I thought you could talk to it, especially because it's a retiring teacher. So I just think, like, I wonder, although this is like a super big blessing, can it be a curse also at the same time? It's a little overwhelming, or to feel like you have to do the exact same.
Depends how you look at it, right? So it's like, how do I want to explain this? Two ways.
Because he's a brand new teacher.
Let's talk about this, because my brother does sound as a job. He does sound and lights for bands, and he also does like QVC and things like that, but mostly he's on tour with bands. And right now he's on tour with a band that is like what do they call it? It's not a cover band. It's like a tribute band for Linkin Park. Linkin Park got a new singer in the last few years after their singer passed away. That new singer doesn't sing exactly like Chester Benning, or I think that's his name, Chester Bennington, whatever. It doesn't sing exactly like the OG singer from then, right? And tons of bands have found success with this, right? Like Journey has do you know where Journey's singer came? Let's have a full ADD moment.
Come on, you know I don't.
They found their singer on YouTube.
They did?
He's a Filipino guy who was singing a cover in some little Filipino club in the Philippines.
A cover of one of their songs?
Of Journey.
Oh.
Someone sent it to them, and that guy now sings for Journey.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So bands have done this
awesome.
forever, right? So I want you to think of yourself as like you're the new singer of this band, right? You can sing the same song, but you're going to do it your way, right? In the same way that a band might cover another band's song. So, and there's bands that like do covers that are better than the original. So I would look at all of that info that you got. Maybe that teacher was great and you want to just try to emulate it, right? For the first few years. That's fine. I would understand why someone would do that. It's going to save you a lot of time and effort. But what is going to be your magic that you sprinkle on that? What does that allow you to do now? You didn't have to write the song. You didn't have to come up with all the parts. But how are you going to sprinkle your own magic? One of my favorite bands of all time. I never talk about this. My favorite band of all time is Pearl Jam. And Pearl Jam is known for doing tons of covers. But they always put their own spin. It never sounds like the band that they covered. So how are you going to cover some of that stuff? How are you going to put your own spin? What are you going to build off of that? That's what I would look at. When I came up, I learned under someone who was an incredible teacher, and I tried to emulate what they did when I went into the classroom, and I couldn't do it because I wasn't them. I had to do my own thing, and they didn't use humor in their teaching. They weren't as all over the place as me and jumping around and climbing on things and taking kids outside and doing all this other stuff. That just wasn't their jam. They ran their class differently, and they found a lot of success in doing that. I just couldn't do it that way. And some of that was because it wasn't authentic to me. So, yeah.
Sorry.
You sending a comment to people?
I am. To Ruth.
Take
Ruth,
your time.
I just commented back to you. Okay, let's answer Chris's question, which I think it's not as interesting as you want it to be, Chris, but we'll answer it. Chris is saying, what is the most exciting thing you did over June and why?
I went to a movie.
I could tell you the most exciting thing we didn't
movie.
do, which was, we didn't do anything in June. And you want to know why? Because the hardest part about entrepreneurship is chasing down money that people pay.
Gosh.
So we did
checks.
Some jobs in May, and it took a very long time to get paid for those jobs. And so sometimes you got to make things stretch, and June was a make it stretch month for the Reynolds.
But I will say, I'll tell you, here's a real adult answer for you, Chris. What's the most exciting thing that we did since we haven't been on? That has been, we bought a patio set, Chris.
We did.
And we are outside people. We have eaten almost every meal out there since we got the patio set.
That's been our favorite thing that we've done.
Yeah.
Even our kids love it.
But July, I'll tell you, the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is our son's friend, his best friend since growing up, Grayson, who was back when we did Real Rap with the Reynolds, like we had a family channel. Grayson was in our Gravity Falls video. And he's flying out for Brody's birthday. Brody's going to turn 18 this month. So he's flying out for Brody's birthday. And we have a whole bunch of ideas of adventures that we want to take Grayson on while he's here. So I think Grayson will be the catalyst for us to go.
We're going to go do a bunch of things.
Stuff.
Like traditional New Mexico. I think we're going to go to White Sands or Carlsbad Caverns, or just do some stuff around that New Mexico has. Which interesting is when we asked other New Mexicoans, like people who have lived here their whole life, if they've done these things, they do not. They're like, nobody has done them. Like my family has lived in New Mexico most of their life, and like in October they have it's people come here all over the world from it for the hot air balloon festival, and most people that we talk to that live in New Mexico have not done it, my own family included. And I'm like,
but there's a lot of that in Philly. We never took our kids to the Liberty Bell.
No, but I went on the walk.
We never took them to where the Declaration of Independence was signed. Right?
I did it when because we did it.
It was 10 minutes from our house.
I know, and we never did it.
But we did. But there's a lot of folks in Philly that never went to the art museum. Our kids have been a bunch of times.
I guess. Yeah, so we're doing all the things that New Mexico does have to offer, but it feels like people don't.
I like that you called them New Mexicoans.
I don't know. Is that not right?
I think that's the new term.
That's my new term.
Yeah, if you're from out of town, you call them New Mexicoans.
Okay.
Beautiful. I thought it was great. So, summer's so mixed for us. I sometimes miss summer before we started a business, because it was just time off and prepping for the next year. And now there's this third element to it of trying to really kind of get it in.
And when you're a business owner, I just think you work 24/7, and you do, but you don't, right? Because it gives us the luxury of if I want to take a nap in the middle of the day, I can close my eyes. If I want to go to the movies, I could and so,
we never do, but you could.
That's not true. I'll take a nap in the middle of the day. But we don't often, but so it's not 24/7, but it is, because your work hours are just so different.
Because you work 15-hour days.
10 o'clock at night, sitting on the couch some nights, writing up the newsletter.
And teaching is just going to exacerbate that. Teaching is going to be even, I feel like for me, is going to be working even more.
I think when you have a business in education also specifically, it's that's the time that you're preparing. It's just different.
Yeah.
I don't miss not having this. I love what we do.
Oh no, I love it too.
Yeah.
Can I just say also, since Tracy Pinter's on here, Tracy, I got your amazing socks that you bought me from Japan. Tracy went to Japan and bought me socks that have a split in the middle. They look like I'm trying to do I'm a Vulcan or a Ninja Turtle. Yeah.
They feel weird.
Both of our kids loved the design on the socks, and they were like, I don't know, Dad, can you wear those? I'm like, I don't know. We're going to give it a shot. I should have worn today.
All right. Leighton, farming the plains,
which is Marley's friend Leighton,
is on here asking, do you have any tips for studying? I struggle staying on topic, especially in math.
Your kids' friends are nerds when they're asking you.
I love it, Leighton.
Leighton, I would say, one, mimic the test. So if you can test yourself similar to the way that the test is going to test you. So if you know, how does Mr. McRaven give it a test, and you can make that up, right? So using something like ChatGPT, which most kids use to cheat, you can say here, like literally take a picture of an old McRaven test, put it in ChatGPT, and say, here's the new info, make me a test that's like that. And then practice test yourself. That's going to be one way to do it. And then for me, the other thing is it's trying to study over multiple days for smaller amounts of time. Trying to do it all at once as a cram session at the end is too overwhelming, and your brain can't assimilate all that information. So research shows that like doing little bits over a longer period of time, even if that's 2 or 3 days, is going to help you. And then it's don't try to multitask. Don't study while you're doing something else.
Don't study and text Marley all at the same time.
Yes. But working with others can help you.
Get out of that Discord thread.
My students, I found, had a lot of success we used to do, and this might be something we could talk about doing at the school this year, doing like homework club we used to do after school. And what that really meant was just chill time. Everyone would meet in my room, and we would all work together, kind of studying, making games out of it, making it silly, making it fun, like testing each other. That always worked too. And you were spending time with your friends. So your anxiety level naturally dropped because you were with people. You were showing each other and encouraging each other that you knew stuff, that you could learn stuff. And then we would do it every day. So it's a kind of fun thing. So my guys that did that always did better on assessments than otherwise. And you made it fun. And you're not working that farm life in the summer, or in the school year. You know what I mean?
I don't know. He might still be. He's pretty dedicated. He's a busy guy. Okay, Summer is up next asking, we read Leading with Heart in my MFA program. One of the things talked about was celebrating gifts. I think it's a master or something.
No. Leading with Heart. I forget who wrote that.
One of the things talked about was celebrating gifts in those you lead. What are some ways you celebrate non-traditional gifts in class? So not grades, behavior, perfect attendance.
I talk about this when I do presentations all the time. Like, so when I work with schools, I talk about this idea of looking for everyday greatness. Kids that don't feel seen and cared for are always going to underperform, even if they're excellent students. They just won't do as well if they don't feel like they matter in some capacity. So this is one of the reasons that I'm constantly I also talk about when I speak, the best places to connect with students are hallways, the entrance and exit of the school, which in Philly we just call the stoop, and in stairways, because that's always where you can find students. Actively look for opportunities to praise kids. So you might have a kid that doesn't do well in class, or they're always late, or they screw around, but you saw them carry something heavy in from a teacher's car. You saw them you saw them help another student get into their locker that couldn't figure out how to use a combination of their locker. You saw them split a sandwich with someone at lunchtime and they were hungry. In that moment, pulling someone aside, writing them a note, acknowledging that behavior helps kids to also see the good in themselves. Because a lot of times kids don't even realize that that's like a big deal. They just think it's like, oh, all I did was help them get in their locker. No, what you did was you found someone that was struggling and you eased their burden. And so it's helping kids to reframe the goodness that they're sharing on a daily basis. And sometimes that takes some digging. Sometimes that takes what feels like many days to find something in a particular student that they're doing that's kind. But you're constantly looking for it. And when you look for those things, we also do a thing when I do a presentation of what you look for expands all the time. And we do this activity where I stole this from Tony Robbins. If you were to look around the room, in the room that you're in right now, and look for every single thing that's red. So if I see my viewfinder and a Pokeball over there and a number picker and Mr. Rogers sweater and the camera, the Fisher-Price camera that's on my shelf, and like I notice all these things that are red, and I say, close your eyes. All right, now tell me everything in the room that's blue. you have a hard time recalling the things that were blue because the thing you were just looking for intentionally was everything that was red. And now if you open your eyes, you can see there's all kinds of blue. So it's walking folks through that process, because when we actively look for things that, especially students that are struggling in school, we're looking for the goodness that they're doing every day. That tends to expand and we see it more, and then we can love on them in that moment. And then that's going to help them to show up to school differently without you even changing a single thing about your class. They'll show up differently because they feel seen and cared for, and that they matter. Yeah.
Oh, shucks.
You had a question, you lost it. Was that a question, Ruth Akers?
No, that I answered that. Just a quick note, Leighton, if you haven't seen, Tracy Pinter commented back to you. She's a math teacher, and she had a couple of really great comments in there that could help you of things to check out for math specifically.
I love going and telling Marley that Leighton was on here, or any of their friends are on here.
She knows, I guarantee they're messaging. Here, Sue is asking, how do you embed writing? Do you have a specific curriculum you use?
I don't use a specific curriculum. I just do a lot of writing. It's one of those things, Sue, that I try to get it off my to-do list and help other teachers to realize that, like, all teachers need to be focusing on writing in school. Everyone does. So I don't care if you're the science teacher, the art teacher, that, like, there should be writing components across the grade level. Math that folks too? Are doing. Everyone. There should be some writing component. Like, kids should be writing word problems and not just answering word problems, right? And when we do that, it helps to ease the burden, because reading and writing are so crucial. There should be reading and writing happening in every single class.
Well, it's a skill that needs to also be, like, constantly used.
And then I find, for me, Sue, it's doing, there's always, like, some larger writing components, because what I want to do is get kids ready for, especially this year, I'm teaching 10th and 11th grade. I'm literally getting kids ready for college or for college level writing. But I find that doing short amounts of writing every single day really helps hone that in. Because what I'm doing is, like, instead of just having kids write like a 5-paragraph essay or something like that, it's writing introductions, writing body paragraphs, writing conclusions over and over and over again. That the things we get the best at are the things that we do on repeat. And if you think of anything that's happened in your life that you're good at, you get better at doing anything by doing it more. And that is, so I want kids to not just write 5-paragraph essay after 5-paragraph essay, but, like, let's get really, really good at writing in introductory paragraphs. Let's get really good at honing in body paragraphs. And then once you're good at those things, it's kind of like learning chords in music. Once you get good at playing those chords, you can start putting them together in different combinations, and then you're really crushing it. Instead of getting kids good at just, like, I don't know, at something else. But so there's still, like, research papers that we do. There's still stories that we write in school. But I want to learn, I want to get good at, like, what do I want kids to get good at doing? So is it transitionary sentences? Is it finding facts and figures that are going to support their claims that they're making? Is it writing a really great hook? Is it summing things up? What are the aspects I want kids to get good at? Really going deep on those. And then when you start putting them together, it's like they have all these tools in their toolbox that they can use to create something. So yeah, I'm sure there's great curriculum out there for that, but I don't use anything specific. I just kind of, I don't know, old school together or something like that.
Chunking is the official word. Sue said, she goes, I like the idea of chunking.
Yeah. So
that's essentially what you're doing.
Yeah.
But Tracy Pinter said, Keys to Writing is a book. She said it's pretty good. So if you're looking for something more, you could do that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're out of questions.
Cool.
If you want to.
That's good for me.
We're about 5 minutes in.
I would love to know, I'm going to put this as a poll in the Facebook group as well. we want to do at least one workshop before school goes back. What is, I'll get to that question in a second. What is a workshop that you think would really help teachers? Like, what's a PD that your school just doesn't do that you wish they would do? What's a pain point at your school? So even if you're not sure how you would make a workshop out of it, that's our job. So if you don't have that, if you have that idea, please share it also. But what is something that you wish your school would do, that you wish could get fixed in your school, that you see a problem with students or with staff that is just never being met enough, that we might be able to create something around that's going to help? I'd love to know your ideas. You can leave in the comments here. You could jump over to Facebook after this and leave a comment there in the Facebook group. If you're not a part of the Facebook group, it is the best teacher Facebook group that exists. It's Teacher Class Off. What the heck did we call it now? Teacher Class Off Facebook group. Teacher Talk. Yeah, I know. Well, we changed it last year from Real Rap with Reynolds, so I forgot what it was. But
I can put a link in there to it in a minute. But so Jacob you have two more questions.
Yeah,
Jacob
please.
is asking, I'm so glad that you're returning to teaching. I've always done my vocab the way you talked about.
Awesome.
5 words built weekly. Would you do vocab different with higher grade levels?
It's not just that's a great question. It's not just going to be my higher grade levels. I have in the past, Jacob, I've taught so many kids that were like neurodiverse, and these kids are far more neurotypical by and large, that I'm wondering what their ability is going to be. So what I'm going to do this year is, because what I don't want to do is make things that are too easy for the students that I have. My plan is over the first 5 to 6 weeks to really gauge the ability of students to start somewhere, let them know that we're starting somewhere, let them know that this isn't indicative of what's going to happen this year, but trying to figure out where kids are and grow from there. A lot of the students I have, I've looked at their grades. They are historically A and B students, but I don't know if they're A and B students because they're just excellent students or because school has been just easy for them. I'm not even saying the classes they took were easy. I'm saying that they figured out how to play that game. How do I challenge those students? I'm not looking to fail students or for kids to crumble, but I'm looking for like, what's the stretching point for those kids? So I think I am going to start with my typical sort of like 5 words a week, and then it's going to scale from there. And then where am I going to notice that kids are? Where's the stretching and growth really happening? So that's my plan for this year.
So Jacob said he's teaching honors now and thinking it should be more challenging.
Potentially, right? So I might start with like 10 words a week. I might do more like a deeper lesson on this. I'm thinking like, how am I maybe spending some time during the week looking at like the Latin roots of particular words so some more like going not necessarily wider. So I don't need to give kids 30 words a week. The logic behind the 5 words a week wasn't to make it easy. It was to go deeper. So we're really getting to know that, because what I found was that by doing only 5 vocab words a week, for those of you that don't know, I do start with 5. The next week I add 5. The next week I add 5 until we got to about 20 words. And then we would lose those first 5. The logic behind that was to go simple and deep, as Mr. Rogers says, instead of wide and complex. So that, and what we found was that from doing that, this is also an idea that did not make up myself. I got it from this guy, Ted, that I used to work with. Ted saw that his students were holding on to those words later in the year, and he would see them showing up in the writing, because it wasn't like hey, each week 25 words, next week a new 25 words. No one was holding on to that. They were holding on to it just long enough to be able to perform on the test, and then they forget them. Yes. So instead, we're going hard on 5 words over the course of 4 weeks, and kids were holding on to that knowledge. And that's ultimately what I want to see happening. So, yeah.
All right. Matt is asking, hello, CJ. You are teaching your kids this coming year.
Yes.
So am I. I'm curious, what will you have your kids call you at school during class?
Doctor.
This has been like a funny little conversation at home. Marley even said once, she goes, when he was just subbing, she's like, I kind of don't know what to call you.
Yeah. I told them they should call me daddy. And my son is just like, just stop. stop doing that. I'm like, no, just call me daddy in school. They already call me father, which is really kind of funny. Both of our kids call me father instead of dad, which is like
Marley calls you dad. Brody calls you father, which I thought was so weird when he first. I'm like, why are you calling him that? Let's call him dad.
I think I don't know. I guess I haven't given it too much thought.
Can't they just call you dad?
Yeah.
Like everybody knows that's your dad.
I have a feeling other kids will call me dad then too.
Yeah, because it's just going to be a joke.
Yeah.
Which is kind of just funny.
So, yeah, Mr. Dad. I don't know. Matt, what are you thinking?
What are you going to have your kids call you?
We could make something awesome here. Matt, here's my thought too. I was initially nervous about teaching my own kids because they've grown up with what I refer to as the legend of their father. So they've seen, it's like they've seen all the highlight clips from forever, but they don't realize that there's actually like, dude, this is actually hard. Like it's actually teaching. It's actually like reading. It's actually writing. It's all the regular things. They've met all the kids that loved me and that keep up with me for 20 years. They haven't met the kids that didn't like me, right? Like those dudes exist. They just like don't rock with me anymore. I think now though, I think I end up teaching the best classes of my life because I cannot for the life of me stand the thought of my kids going, it was all right. Or my kids would go, it was mid. Like, no, it has to be the best. So I have to live up to my own hype, I think.
I love how that's going to translate for all the people who follow.
I hope it's all like,
it's going to be awesome.
Why would anyone ever work this hard in a class? So. Because their kids are in it. That's why.
A couple more questions, but
Mr. Dad,
which is fine.
Mr. Father.
Are you
Dr. Dad?
I'm
so
practicing. A couple of things for workshop ideas. Classroom management, as always.
Yes.
Stress management for teachers.
Yep.
Which I think that's a good idea, Catherine. Okay, we have a question. Let me roll to that one.
I thought it was higher up.
No.
Keep going.
Oh yeah, Yvonne.
Yeah.
Is asking, hey, my team members and I are trying to implement cross-curricular learning across our grade level. Any tips for this? We teach honors, ELA, reading, and history.
I think honestly the best way you could do this, and I'm not trying to just outsource this, is really sitting down and meeting. Like, what could this look like? Let's have a true meeting amongst folks that are not just Here's a key tip for schools. What I don't want in a meeting is just idea generators. I want practitioners, because ideas are a dime a dozen. But if you don't have folks that are going to run with it, that are going to make it happen, then it's worthless, right? Like, great, you had a great idea. Awesome. Who's going to do that? Who's going to make this happen? Who's going to write this curriculum? Who's going to set up the meeting every week? It's have a meeting in the beginning of the year before the school year starts of how this could look. So maybe that looks like your department heads or something like that even. But then who are your doers? And then meeting regularly throughout the year. So whether that's monthly or it's quarterly, we're checking in and seeing like what worked, what didn't work, and then how are we going to move forward. If you do that regularly during the year, like you would a PLC, I think that's going to help you to really grow that. But you need to have people that are going to, it's like, be practitioners and folks that are going to hold other folks accountable. I'll tell you this, our school, both schools that I've worked at before my current school, always had ideas. I'll tell you right now, I didn't run with one of those. Not a single one that I can remember that they were like, here's this new initiative we're doing this year. I would just sit there like, y'all have fun with that, because I'm not doing it. Not to be, I wasn't trying to be like start trouble. I just knew that 9 times out of 10, it was such a good idea when you felt fresh from the summer, and then it just petered out. So because in my beginning of my career, I'd put all this time and effort into it, and then it just would never materialize. And it was like, dude, what did I just do all this for? So I just thought, I'm just put time, energy, and attention into my teaching. And if this sticks, I'll do it. If it doesn't stick, I won't do it. So what we want to do is have folks that are going to set up something before school starts, introduce it in the beginning of the year, and then talk about the touch points that you're going to have as the year goes on. That's going to build belief. And then the teachers like me that are initially going to not believe that we're doing this are going to see, oh, we really are doing this. And so it's making that, I think that's part of it. And then making it doable. Start so simple that every class can do it. So here's what reading and writing across the curriculum is going to look like. It is going to look like this small amount of time in your class. When you make things so simple, right? We call it rigging the game to win. It is how all things become scalable. When you make it, all right, one day a week, everyone's doing this, or, every day you're going to do this 10-minute exercise in class. It's not doable anymore. So what is the minimum viable amount that I have to do that's going to be something that feels doable to everyone that we can then build as the year goes on? So maybe that's a 3 to 5 minute activity, twice a week. Maybe that is a 1 minute quick write every single day. And then it's going to build and scale over time. We want to become a part of people's rhythms. And when you become part of your rhythm, right? Think about anything you do. If you want to start going to church, if you want to start working out, if you want to start taking your supplements, take a single supplement a day. We're wackos. We take like 100, not 100. We take a lot of supplements every day. If I started with that, I wouldn't do it. But if I knew that I had to take one supplement a day, that's easy. I can do that. So start small and then scale it over time.
That is one of I think people underestimate that, right? Like, and
Yes.
I am so guilty of that. We started, so CJ's been going to the gym. CJ and Birdie, they work out 5 days a week, right? They do 3 gym days and two walk days. And they have gone for like 2 years, I think it is now.
607 days. Today will be 608 days. 608 workouts. So taking off weekends, 608 workouts without missing a day.
And that is because they make it so simple. So I started going with them and I complained in the beginning. I was like, this is stupid. It's just like, I'm not even going to achieve the goals that I want
because it was too easy.
And I did some simple things like adjustments, like up my weights, but really realizing oh no, that's enough. If I work my hardest at the small thing that I'm doing, it does have an impact. I am sore and it is enough. And if I want to increase it later, I can, but it's let's start there with the basics of being committed and going and showing up no matter what and doing the 4 exercises, 2 sets of each of the 4 exercises that I go commit to. It's no, if I can be consistent with a small, it's the Bible says, if you're responsible with a small amount, you will get increase.
Yes.
But the same principle. But I think that that's so overlooked.
Because some days doing a little bit is still hard. The first walk you took with us in the rain, 2 miles in the rain sucks. 2 miles in the heat sucks.
It does.
Can you keep going?
Going today
It's
sucks.
doing a little bit over time. It compounds.
But I think people just underestimate that.
Yes.
And I think even with these things,
the Bible also says, do not underestimate small beginnings.
Yes.
Right? And I think I had that wrong, but it's the same idea. Chris Carson knows. But it's do not despise small beginnings. Start small, do it doable, and then build it from there.
I just think that's so underestimated. I just wanted to kind of reiterate that point because I thought it was so important. Get off my thing.
Oh, sorry. Someone just gave a super chat. Thank you very much. I can't see who it is because it monitors all the way over there.
I just want to say, Matt, around teaching his kids, he said he's not sure, but he does want all of his students to call him Mr. Lacapelli. And then Amy, this one made me giggle. She said, I taught my own kids, 2, and my son called me mom for the first day. My daughter was too nervous and didn't trust me by anything.
Hilarious.
I could see our daughter doing that. She's just not going to call him anything.
No.
I think it could be really funny if you do a thing teasing of I think you're going to tease people and go oh, you can't call me. You're not my favorite. Only these 2 are my favorite and they can call me dad. Something silly and lighthearted.
I will handle it well. I'll say that. I haven't had a kid call me Mr. Reynolds. I mean, sometimes, but
they just call you Reynolds.
They just call you Reynolds.
In Philly, it was a Mr. thing,
Yeah.
or in Camden.
I'll tell you what.
Catherine said, have him call you Darth Vader.
Look, I mean, I used to have kids call me Mr. All kinds of dumb stuff I would make up. Yeah. All right. Do we have another
question?
Hit me with one more, and then we're at an hour. So I just want to respect time.
Okay. I mean, well, I didn't read
There's
all
a bunch.
of them. There's a couple.
I'll try and do it. Let's try and get them.
How to encourage and promote lifelong learning among your students? This is a great question.
So be a lifelong learner out loud.
Ooh.
That's the best way. If you want your kids to do anything, be a shining example of that thing. Want your kids to work hard and be nice, you cannot be a jerk and tell kids to be nice, right? It makes as much sense as my mom smoking in my face when I was a kid telling me don't be a smoker. I mean, it actually worked, but that's because she threatened me. So why do I want my kids to, like, I want my kids to be lifelong readers. I talk about the books that I'm reading, right? Or even the audiobooks that I'm listening to, right? Like I'm constantly talk about what I'm learning. And that is going to be something that let me say this. I'll even take it bigger. I think a lot of kids don't want to become teachers because no one's making teaching look cool. It doesn't look attractive. So make what you want your students to be look attractive.
I love the thing that you thought it was cool to like not read books, and then one of your friends was like, "You don't read books? That's the stupidest thing I ever heard."
John Fiend told me that's the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life.
And you were like, "Oh yeah, that is."
Because I thought John Fiend was cool, and what he said mattered. So yeah.
Okay, real fast.
Hit
Jacob is saying, Jacob, we're going to answer it. He said, how do we make the giant pencil and the shavings?
Oh, all right. So let me say thank you, Ruth, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Super chat, just so you know, folks, it's like when folks like just donate a couple bucks, and I appreciate it. So this is
it's a mail tube.
A mail tube that we got from
office.
Oh, was it? Yeah, it was.
Place.
Yes.
Anyway.
The top part is just a cone
from Hobby Lobby.
Right? Them. So I'm watching. Can you scoot a little bit? We're in tight quarters here, folks. So this is a shipping label. This is a cone from
Hobby Lobby, and I just
painted the top black with a Sharpie. Painted this yellow. Just looked up yellow. I think it was marigold was the actual color that we got.
We spray painted it. I think it was from Clovis. They have it.
I have essentially a cricket, and I made the number 2 label for it. You don't need to do it. You can just paint that on there or draw it on there. This is this is the shipping tube. Also, we cut off the end. Then my wife to make the rib thing.
It's hot glue. I just hot glued lines, and then you just put the tin foil aluminum foil over it,
painted the end of it.
Squish it, and it makes it.
Yeah. So, and then the shavings are like butcher paper that we just made wiggly looking and painted the edges of
and then rolled them in a cone.
Yeah. So it's like
it's just super simple.
Paper. Well, this one's glued together and has putty on the back, but.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's it.
It's super basic. It's super easy. You can do it in an afternoon. Just drying spray paint is the only thing. But if you look it up, I think they have like the color. Yeah, it was marigold, and I forget what I think it was a coral color, to be honest, for the pink for the eraser.
Spray painting in New Mexico is the best, except for it's windy, but there's no humidity.
There is.
In Jersey, you had to wait forever for it to dry. So
last question.
Hit it.
I have 90 minutes for each class. Do you have any advice on time management? I feel like overloading my lesson plan helps my confidence.
So no matter how long I have in a class, I chunk it, right? So I have to break it down into sizable chunks, and that's going to make things feel like they're constantly moving along. When we don't do that, 90 minutes of anything can feel too long, right? So it's like breaking it down into chunks. So do I have a 10-minute like pre-class, something fun I'm learning, something silly I'm doing? Then I have, so for me, it's like 5-minute pre-class. Then I do 10 minutes of like, here's basically what we're learning today, a lecture or something like that. Like, let me give you the download. 20 minutes of us doing something with that. And then depending on how long my classes are, it's like a 5-minute like follow-up. But that is tight, man. I mean, like there's There is no downtime. There's no screwing around. There's no just silliness for silliness' sake. It is like bell to bell, we're crunching it all in, right? Which is why doing things like having transitions and good classroom management is important. That over 5 days, I can get a lot of stuff done in that amount of time. If I had a 90-minute period, I'd probably do that, and I'd probably build in an intentional break. But even my break would be, it wouldn't be like, hey, if you just want to go on your phones for 5 minutes or just play a game, it would be like an active break where we're actively having a reprieve from what we're doing. So I might take kids on an excursion around the school and go do something. It might be like a fun activity that we're going to do. My friend Kevin Butler, if y'all haven't read Kevin Butler's book, just type in Kevin Butler into, I think it's called
on Amazon.
What is it called? Lights, camera, teach or something like that, right? His book is awesome. He does like a morning show. So he teaches out in LA. He does like a morning, like, I don't know what the heck these shows are called anymore. Like, but like Regis and Kathy and Regis show, like it's now Kelly and
you dating yourself.
Kelly and whoever her husband is. If you look at the first 10 minutes of their show, he does something similar to that, where it's like, he'll sit down with the student. They have a backdrop. They have coffee cups. And it's like, hey, what's going on in the news today? What's going on in pop culture today? Oh, did you see this movie came out this weekend? They have a little thing like that in the middle of their class, which is really cool. But it's really just breaking it down into chunks and then figuring out how can I fit everything in a day.
All right, we did it. We got through all the questions.
We will be back next week. Last year, for the first part of this school or last school year, this was for members only. We tried an experiment. And what I realized was that there's just too many people that needed help and that I couldn't do that anymore. If you want to keep supporting our channel, you can be a paid partner. It's 99 cents a month, but it really, really helps us to do more stuff because I'm not trying to figure out ways to make income all the time. So if you can give like 99 cents, or I think it goes up to $5 a month or something like that, please, by all means, do it. But this is no longer behind that membership wall, right? This is like free for everyone as it was the first 7 years that we did it. And that's really just as a service to teachers. So with that, go check out shopteacherclassoff.com. If you need someone to speak at your school, as I always say, here's a QR code coming up right now. Just scan this, John, and we'll give you everything that you need to bring me to your school. That's it, gang. We'll see you next week. Peace.